welcome back to my video series, Out of the Darkness. My name is Nicole Esterly, and this is my YouTube channel that I have devoted to helping other women who have lived a life of brokenness and pain and were in a place that I was, to try to give you some wisdom and words of encouragement based on my experiences and how you can come out on the other side and come out of that darkness. I have to apologize because it's been several weeks, almost a month, I guess it's been since my last video, and I'm going to talk about the why of that, which actually is really good timing because in my last video I really alluded to the idea of talking about the need for us to learn to love ourselves, and that falls in line with what's been going on for me in the last couple of months, that hopefully if you follow along it'll make sense. So I'm calling this video I Am and Who Are We? And the reason being, the I Am statement is one of the most powerful statements in the English language that humans, men, women, children could ever possibly utter. And what makes them powerful, or I guess I should say what makes them destructive or good, is the words that follow I Am. So to recap, the last video I did was Mr. Right, or Mr. Right Now, and if you're a man watching this, obviously it could go the other way or whatever. I talked about the idea of us putting ourselves in relationships for all of the wrong reasons. Oftentimes it's to meet some kind of internal need that wasn't met in our past in healthy ways, so we didn't necessarily have the right kind of skills in understanding that need and how to have that filled the right way. So we often put ourselves in relationships with men that were not healthy, that were dangerous at times, that were draining, and that caused us to maybe do things emotionally or physically that were way outside of what we would want to do if we didn't feel that we had to fill those emotional needs, if you follow me. And if you've watched these videos, you understand part of why I talk about that. And I actually want to take a quick minute and just kind of recap, if this is the first time you've seen this, why I'm doing this. My desire to start these videos came from the fact that I have recently, as of 2 years ago, received Christ through baptism at church. I had been a believer a long time before that, but I hadn't truly given in until a few years ago when I knew it was time and I heard God speak to me through prayer. And I know if you're watching this, you may or may not be a believer, and my goal is to reach you folks out there and you women who don't necessarily believe and are afraid that maybe that type of thing is not for you, or that there's a boundary on the things that you can do wrong and still get into heaven, so to speak. And hopefully through my video series, I have made it clear to you that there are no exceptions in God's grace and His forgiveness. And if you still have questions about that, I urge you please to reach out to me or to local pastors or anyone that you feel you trust as a follower of Christ to help you understand further how all of that works. But anyhow, so my story is that of as a child, I went through some pretty horrific experiences that I had repressed as far as memories go for a very long time, and they only came back about 10 and a half years ago. Then I started really getting help, and what caused me to reach out and get help and remember is I was going through another divorce, essentially. Had cheated on him as well as my first husband, had a long history of bad relationships with men. I had an abortion at 19. I was sexually promiscuous for years and years and years and years, just throwing myself into the arms of any man who made me feel like they approved of me. And approve of me, I meant they wanted me physically or would give me some kind of attention based on that fact. And the root of all of this is that I had been molested as a child. So that's not the important part anymore. And again, I want to reiterate, that's not why it's important for me to do these videos. It's the reason I'm doing these is because I want other women to understand, regardless of what got you to where you are now, as far as the stress and the pain and the issues, the shame and the guilt that you may be living through, and the lies that you may have convinced yourself to live under, that there is a way out, and there's freedom, there's hope, there's happiness, there's love, and there's just so much more for you in life the minute you're able to step out of that darkness and truly receive all of those things that are there for you. It's so important for me, for you guys to all understand that my past is exactly that, a past. It does not define who I am now. It absolutely has nothing to do with the journey that I'm now on. It's simply the catalyst that gave me a heart and a mind for understanding where other people may be in their journey in life, and to hopefully help them get the help that they need and the understanding that they need to get through this. So anyhow, back to kind of why I'm doing this video, the reasons for why it has been so long since I've done a video. Probably most of you wouldn't be surprised if you are where I was, fight depression and anxiety. It's been a battle of mine since I was rather young. Most of the women that have a past similar to mine also could say they fight very similar problems. And even though I have received Christ, I have an amazing relationship with my Heavenly Father. And I am surrounded by amazing people and a loving husband and great kids. I still suffer with anxiety and depression on and off. The difference now is I've learned coping tools. I have learned that I'm not alone in this. I have a person to go to, and I have healthy ways of dealing with it, whereas in the fact, and if you're sitting there on the other side of this, you know, you feel very trapped there and you feel like there's no way out. And even if you're being treated medically, which please understand, I do not disagree with chemical therapy when it comes to depression and anxiety. It is a serious issue, and folks, we need to take it seriously. And if medication is helping you, then by God, take the medication and get the help that you need. But what was going on with me for the last couple of months is I think maybe doing these videos has triggered some things. I think some responses and reactions that I've received has made me fearful that I was doing something wrong. But I've also received a lot of confirmations lately, one from a good friend of mine, Val, and from another friend of mine, Michelle, and then from my pastor at my church, who recently reached out to me and had encouraged me. And those were the three confirmations. Typically when God wants you to do something, you receive three different confirmations, messages, encouragements, or things he doesn't want you to do, however that looks, to continue or to not continue doing something. So I did receive that, and I'm very grateful that my Father works with me like that, because he knows how my little brain works. Anyhow, depression is something that can be frightening when you're sitting on the other side of things. Depression and anxiety are things that come along with the whole package of brokenness. For example, because of my past and because of what happened to me as a child, one of the things that made me very broken was the blueprint that I developed in my brain for what it meant to be loved and wanted. In a healthy relationship, being loved has absolutely nothing to do with your body or what you can do for somebody else. But because of my experiences as a young child and some things that happened as I grew older, what in my head the blueprint was that the only way to be loved and accepted and wanted was to have to give myself up physically, whether it was through sexual acts or through physical things that I would do for somebody, for them to then love me and want me, which is not the truth, and it's a very skewed blueprint, one that should be thrown out and has. But unfortunately, for a long, long time and a good part of my adult life, I lived under that blueprint. And what happens, if you don't quite understand this, and I don't want to say stealing this, but using something I've learned from Tony Robbins through listening to his podcasts, and one of the things he talked about is what depression is and how it's caused. It's this idea that these blueprints we develop in our mind about certain things in our life, whether it's love or money or careers or family, whatever that might be, we develop this idea of what it's supposed to be as when we're very young, right? And a lot of times what we develop isn't even ours, it's what's been passed on to us by our family, by life experiences, by maybe the community that we live in, right? Or current things that are going on. If you live in a war-torn country, your idea of safety and security might be very different from someone like us who've been blessed to live in a country like ours, okay? So follow me here. So these blueprints, when they come from a place of brokenness, we spend a lot of effort trying to get that part of our life, whatever it may be, whether it's love or maybe it's something to do with finances, I don't know. And we spend our whole life trying to make our life line up with that, because if we do X, Y, and Z like the blueprint says, then it should produce the end result of whether it's a loving relationship or financial satisfaction or the career of our dreams, whatever it might be. However, the path on the blueprint is skewed and broken and it's not accurate. So what you have to do then is throw it out. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this, but what I want to tell you is when you're someone who fights depression, and when you have severe depression, a lot of times it triggers anxiety about things. And typically the anxiety comes along with, in your brain, you get messages triggering you like, okay, my life is not like this. If I don't get this going, if I don't fix this, if this doesn't change, then I'm not going to be loved, or I'm never going to be financially satisfied, or I'm never going to be a success, I'm never going to be a good parent. Whatever it is going on, that's what causes the anxiety. That's what causes your heart to start to race. That's what causes you to be up half the night or all night like me. I used to have severe insomnia. Whatever that looks like, right? Those thoughts, those things going on, that all comes along with the blueprint that you're dealing with, okay? And when your blueprint is here and your life is here and you can't get them to line up, that's when the depression sets in, all right? Tony Robbins probably explains it way better than I do, but that's the basis so you can understand it. And the best thing you can do, especially if you can identify the one or two areas in your life where you're really struggling, is to sit down and really start to write out what it is in your head that's causing this depression, what is truly going on, and then maybe you need to look at what your idea is about that area of your life, what it's supposed to look like, and find out whether or not that blueprint is a healthy one, and if it's even yours. Because if it's one that you inherited from your parents, but it doesn't line up with who you are and who God made you to be, you'll be struggling your whole life and you'll exhaust yourself trying to meet that, okay? So the past couple of months, I have been struggling with these feelings of depression and anxiety, and it's affecting my sleep, it's affected my health. But the difference is now, I'm not alone. I'm not alone in the fact that I have somewhere to go with it. I've learned how to handle it. God has blessed me with some amazing friends, and I will call her out. Tiffany Ank and Michelle Fry are two women that I don't know what I would do without. Tara Swope and Valerie Kiefer are another two amazing women who I have been so blessed that God brought them into my life for this very reason. And these are the women that I can turn to when I have these thoughts going through my head, who help balance that out. And they're there to listen, they're there to help, they're there to pray with me, pray over me, and they're there to kind of get me back in reality too, and push me when I need pushed, when all I want to do is sit on the couch and not move, right? And I also have a phenomenal partner in my life, my husband, who's kind, who's patient, who allows me to, I don't feel like cooking dinner tonight, okay, fine. but he's supportive of me and doesn't make me feel guilty for it. He's very patient with me through this, and that's also important when you're dealing with these kinds of things. Anxiety and depression is no joke, y'all. It really isn't. It is just as important to take care of that as it is if you have the flu. And it can destroy your physical health just as much as if you went out to the beach right now. Apparently there's some kind of flesh-eating algae in the beach area, which I don't go to the beach anyhow because I'm terrified of sharks. Anyways, depression and anxiety can do as much to your physical body as well as your mind and soul as something like that to your body and the damage that that will do. I'm not kidding. I am a walking, talking example of what that looks like. Which brings me to the idea of the greatest statements that we can make. The greatest statement in the world that we make every day when we wake up is the statement of I am. I've talked in the past about listening to a podcast of a woman by the name of Tanya Lee, and she has a whole company design called the French Kissed Life, and her whole focus is on living your best life, what she says French kissing life, and I love it. I think it's amazing. It's a little, some people might think it's a little weird, but I find her to be very positive, her energy to be loving and kind and encouraging, and her words to be filling, and things that help open my mind up to new ways to grow and new ways to deal with depression and anxiety and the beliefs that follow I am. So when we say the words I am, those are the statements we're telling our brain. Remember, I've talked in the past about this dual personality. You can't tell your brain, make the I am statements one thing, and then hope to think that you're going to be something else, okay? So that's why when we say I am, what follows is extremely powerful. When you're depressed, when you're anxious, the words I am are often followed by I am a failure, I am unloved, I am no good, I am trash, I am fat, I am a bad parent, I am not a good employee, I'm bad with whatever. But do you understand what I'm saying? You're telling, this is your language that you use with yourself. And it's sad because those statements are not true. Those statements are things that you have conditioned yourself or been conditioned by someone else. If you have been in an abusive relationship, you'll understand what I mean. Or even being raised in an abusive household where you heard those words being used from your parents, okay? Either back and forth to one another or even to you. But learning how to undo the negative and false I am statements is the key to learning how to get past your depression and anxiety, okay? So the past couple of months, some of the things I struggled with is I'm silly for doing these videos. I am not really giving a valuable message. I am worthless, and this is my attempt at trying to feel some kind of value, even though it's just pointless, okay? Some things like that. I am not a good parent, because what parent would have done all the things that I've done, right? There's a whole list of things, and try to sit here and talk on a video to you folks about being a good person, right? So this is some of the things that have been going through my mind. But the difference is I've also learned how to take those I am statements, write them out, and then write what the truth is about me. So the key in all of this is, number one, understanding your blueprint for that area of your life where you're feeling the anxiety and depression, and really getting it down. And I highly suggest, if you don't do this now, to do it. And my friend Irina Wilkinson is wonderful. She's a friend through Facebook and through a mutual friend, but she is such a powerful woman and been through hell and back in her life. But she's talked about the importance of journaling, and she's done it for over 10 years, and it only confirms more my belief in it as well. So when you journal, And if you don't, you should. Oh, that's my video, my end time up, and I will finish this up. Journaling is a key thing in helping us manage the I am statements. So, and how you start your day is another key thing. So the first thing when I do when I get up in the morning is I talk about, or I shouldn't say talk about, I kind of get into my head. And I know a lot of us get up in the morning and you're jumping out of bed and you've got kids to get ready, or you've got things to do and whatever. Or maybe you wake up in the morning and you're already dreading the day to start because you're in a depressed state or an anxious state. And what I will tell you is it's okay to feel that, but it's not okay to stay there. And what I mean is I realize you can't magically click your fingers and now I'm fine, I don't feel sad, I don't feel anxious, it's just gone. What I mean is it's acknowledge the feelings, acknowledge how you feel. Maybe find out what's going on in here. Maybe it's you're anxious because, like for me, I've been really worked up about my job lately, and I had thoughts that maybe I was going to lose my job because I wasn't performing the way I thought I was supposed to, or that they were going to do whatever it was, right? So those were the thoughts in my head on top of everything else. And see, what happens is when you're depressed, every little thing starts triggering you to further be depressed. So why I'm talking about this is so important. I acknowledge that thought and then I let it just kind of dissipate. And I have made a practice of a few things that I do to help take control of what's going on in my head. And this is so important. You are in charge of your thoughts. Your thoughts are not in charge of you. So some things that I do in the morning is, rather than getting up and jumping on social media or turning on the news or whatever else it is, shut it all out. Grab your journal, grab your pen, write what's up here out onto paper. And sometimes the funny thing is when you start writing, the weird anxious thoughts or sad thoughts that come out, as you write them, and you'll start to see this over a period of time too, you'll automatically start to self-correct, right? And then for me, my next part in this practice is I may write out things that happened with the kids the night before, or things that I did the day before, things that are upcoming, whatever, or what I might be anxious about. But then what I do is my next journal entry for that same day is my I am statements that are true. So like I said, I shared with you, I was struggling with the idea of, I was afraid of losing my job, and I was afraid I wasn't doing my best, and I've also been fearful I hadn't been a good mom. And so my I am statements came out seeing my I am statements is I am a talented saleswoman because I do sales for a living. I am overcoming some new challenges with my career, okay? I am able to grow, learn, and be better every day. I am becoming a better mom every day and learning new and more effective ways to meet my children's needs. Because I can tell you, my kids dealt with a hot mess for years, right? I am beautiful. I am not fat. I am becoming the healthiest version of me ever. These are my I am powerful statements. These are the truth. The I am statements of I am a bad mom, I am failing at my job, I'm probably going to get fired, I'm this, I'm that, or whatever, right? Those negative, nasty, awful thoughts. That's here in the stuff you're writing out. You'll see it. You'll pick up a trend. You'll see what's going on. You'll see what's driving this, right? And on the next page, you write out the truth. And if you're not sure what that truth is, you message me and I will help you figure that out. You find yourself a tribe of girlfriends or men friends who can help you work through this. Because you right now, if you want to get out of this place, you can't be quiet anymore. You need to surround yourself with people who are going to support you and help you take this walk. And if you're not sure who that is, I will be happy to volunteer to be the woman who cheers you on. Because I don't care. I'm available. I have seen far too much and have been on the side of total where I felt loneliness and completely isolated for years and years and years. That I was suicidal at one point, and believed that my children would be better off if I was dead, okay? Those are scary thoughts. So I do understand where many of you might be. But let me tell you, I'm on the other side of that. The key factor in all of this was I received Christ. That changed everything for me, because the minute I received him and I was able to receive that grace and that forgiveness and that understanding that what that man did that day on that cross cleaned all of that up for me and made me as good as perfect in his eyes, right? That allowed me then to start to take the steps in this journey of filling my life with good people, of allowing myself to learn to be loved the right way by the man that God put in my life, of allowing myself to grow in healthy ways, of allowing myself to accept the body that I have, the way it's built, and realize that I may not look like what YouTube or internet or whatever it is, Pinterest is a big one for that, of what my body is supposed to look like, right? But the thing is, the clouds were lifted, my eyes were open, and the truth was made real. So I guess to close this up, I want to reiterate, when you're feeling depressed, find out what the blueprint is that's causing your life in that area to not line up with the blueprint in your head. Decide whether or not that blueprint is healthy and realistic and lines up with who you are here. Because even if it's a healthy blueprint, but it doesn't line up with who you are here, it's going to exhaust you and always make you depressed. Once you do that, find a group of women to surround yourself with, a group of women, men, whatever it is, that you can talk to, that you can share with, that will support you. Get help if you need to from a doctor. Do not let this go, okay? And start journaling your thoughts. Get the crap that's in here onto paper. Read it out loud, and then make truthful I am statements, because it's a hell of a lot easier. And I'm so stealing this from Les Brown. He is a phenomenal public speaker, and I recommend anyone to listen to him. It's easier to make if you take a statement and say, I'm broke, and you change that statement to, I am overcoming financial hardships, just changing the words gives you power and sets you free. So you're not alone. All of us have been there. I have been there. These things I'm telling you are tools I have learned, and recently really had to rely on them to pull me out of a darkness that I was starting to float into. But I didn't give into it, and I didn't stay there this time. So again, I'll finish this video with saying, I'm here for you. If you need someone to reach out to because you're not sure who you can trust, or you don't feel like you have a tribe of women around you to talk to, message me below, shoot me an email, whatever you want to do, I don't care, and I'll be happy to talk to you. If you aren't sure about my faith and you want to know more, again, message me. I will pray with you. I will share with you Christ's love. I will talk to you about the grace and the forgiveness and the freedom that he has to offer you. And I will just continue to encourage you to keep stepping forward one day at a time, one step at a time. Don't give into it. Don't stay in that darkness. And for the love of God, reach out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting me. If you like my video and you like what I have to say, please like it and share it, and subscribe to my YouTube page. And if there's someone, maybe this doesn't apply to you, but someone that you know, share this with them. Don't let others who you're not sure, you're maybe not real sure how they're going to receive this, just share it with them anyhow, I guess is my words to you. Thank you for watching. Have a great week. I hope to be more current with these videos, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.